Hi, when it comes to your own boundaries, what are your limits? How do you know when you're at your own divide? And how do you know when you focus on your own decisions, choices, and intentions without experiencing any guilt? Do you know your emotional triggers? We all come at some point of our lives, especially our daily lives, to experience connecting with people that help us to master our own boundaries. Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning into this channel. And let's give thanks to God. Thank Him so much for this opportunity of this channel and being a blessing to us all. Our topic review from last time of episode 3, we were talking about the art of minding our own business. The 3 words that really stood out in that topic was gossip, covet, and drama. And we just talked about how best to keep our own focus in our own lives in living passionately in our goals and dreams, to be our best, to do our best, and also to act our best. Now, today we're going to talk about your boundaries. Now, what I mean by this is boundaries can change everything about our lives in how we make our decisions, choices, and our intentions. And it also solely comes with a sense of personal responsibility in our own peace of mind, such as our mindset, and in the way how we manage our personal space. Now, I have a list of words, and we're going to see how these words associate with our personal space, which means about of our boundaries, how we feel violated, maybe even their triggers, the sense of manipulation, the act of saying no, no, thank you, our integrity in a sense of how we're truthful and honest, in the sense of the level of our environment and the atmosphere that we're in, our lifestyle in our values, our limits, our sense of control, the level of our emotions, positive and negative ones for ourselves, and how we relate that to others, our not ours, but other people's behaviors. And yes, ours too, in how we set and keep it in relationships and in social connections. And then the negative consequences of actions, our beliefs, and our behaviors and our attitudes. Now, let's talk about healthy boundaries in our relationships for ourselves, in our positive mindset, and keeping our peace, knowing that it's perfectly okay when we're in a certain situation to say no and no thank you. Our boundaries are established in the way how we balance it in a positive way and how we manage our negative emotions in the level of our signals, in how we actually know who we are and who we're not by our sense of freedom, our set point, our lifestyle, our relationships with our spouse, with our family members, with our acquaintances, as we're parents with children, our friendships, our acquaintances, coworkers, and most of all, ourselves. Now, there are 4 different distinct areas of boundaries that I'm going to discuss right now. Number 1, our own sense of personal freedom in our thoughts and opinions. Number 2, the distance of our personal space between yourself and others. Number 3, how you actually balance your own emotions positively and negatively. And number 4, the difference of our own beliefs and values versus our God ordained. Now, how do we manage our boundaries in the fact of when we're in challenges, when we have problems, and in situations? Well, we look at our boundaries of when it's created, when we have no boundaries, when we lack decisions, choices, and intentions, and also when conflict arises with our boundaries. Let's move on and talk about verbal and nonverbal in the sense of our actions and the way we communicate. Now, what I mean by that is what is the actual outcome? Now, number one, your words and what and how you say no, your environment, and learning to just avoid conflict, your integrity. The truth shall set you free, and it always does, especially when you're honest, and that's the best policy. And in your emotions, how do you manage them in a positive way or a negative way? Now, let's use an example. You have an unforgiving spirit. You were hurt by somebody and you just could not let it go. That's an unforgiving spirit. And that's the correct term for that. So, what you do differently this time is you learn to let go, you digest it, and you just move forward and you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to be that better person. I'm going to be that person that's going to make a difference in this situation. I'm going to try to work it out in a positive light and a state of awareness of what was actually going on because you know what? I choose this as a learning opportunity. Number five, your level of your upbringing in a sense of how you were taught and how you learned with that level of expectation from your family values. Number six, respect. Yes, how do you respect others? How do you respect yourself? Um, Now, I could say this too. Does respecting yourself, you feel that you're selfish because you have boundaries? Maybe not. Some people might say, well, yeah, because when you're selfish, you have a certain behavior, you have a certain attitude, and you have a certain action that actually ends up taking over that you don't think about anybody else. But if they're healthy boundaries, that's the level of respect of having healthy boundaries. Falling into that is the next section we're talking about is the success and boundaries in relationships in the sense of your goals of goal achievement and how you're moving forward, um, the desired outcomes in what you've measured, how you've practiced it, and how you've mastered it. Now, the best way to identify this is in your, like I was saying, in your personal relationships, that here are common everyday learning opportunities for you to just sit back and listen to, and then you can actually observe and say, you know what? Yes, there's been some time in my day I've experienced any of these areas. Number one, the difficult personalities you might experience in your work environment, in your home environment, around your friends, acquaintances, critical attitudes as number two. Number three, dealing with conflict with spouse, friendships, um, authority figures, um, expectations that people put on you that may seem unreasonable at times, your sense of identity is number five. And number six, your work and life balance. Now, to conclude this, I would like to say boundaries will always be defined as um, a healthy balance when you look at it in the positive sense, in the way you manage your daily life, and just learning to practice and establishing in the way you make wise decisions, your choices, and your intentions. And just always practice that because when you practice that, it's such a rewarding experience to um, something to remember as you live your life so passionately and to be diligent and to focus on being your best, acting your best, and actually doing your best in life. And I'd like to conclude with a small little prayer just to say, let us give thanks to God for this awareness of this actual topic, and letting us be so attentive in the way we learn to maintain healthy boundaries in the way we live in freedom. I'm going to leave with you 5 points for you to practice when you get into a situation of your boundaries. These are great pointers to master for yourself. Number one, always try to be in control and not out of control. And for example, I'll say, being in control is, think before you speak at times, and not to lash out and with negative emotions. Number two, balance your time management with discipline. Number three, I'm talking about it again, your words. Your words are so important. Um, just think before you speak, be very kind as much as possible, because the power of your words really can build and can destroy relationships. And relationships are very important. Number four, identify your own personal maturity. And I have some points on this. Number one, know your triggers. And what I mean by your triggers, your emotional triggers, your set limits, because we all have certain emotional triggers that go off. We all have a set point. There's always a root cause as number two of your own patterns. And you start to understand the patterns, the cycles, and try to break yourself out of that. And knowing that when you experience number three, conflict, you get insight from that to see, where best you can maybe have been the bigger person to kind of solve that conflict that you've experienced. And number four, know also that there's a sense of responsibility and accountability on your part with your own behaviors, your own attitudes, and your own actions. And I'll leave you with the last point of number five is coping. What are your coping mechanisms in the sense of how you maintain those healthy relationships? And also knowing that when you do have negative effects in a broken relationship, that it's a learning opportunity, not to be too hard on yourself. And just know that love always conquers everything. And just to say thank you so much today, and thanks for listening. And you know what? If you guys have not subscribed to my channel, please do. Please support this channel. It means so much to me. And I'm going to say stay tuned for the next episode next week, and February the 13th, and 6:30. And I'm going to say bye for now. And thank you so much for listening in today. Bye for now.